Welcome back to the MOOC course on research writing. My name is Aradhana Malik and I am helping you with this course. Now today we are going to start with the discussion. This is week 2, lecture 1. We are going to start the discussion on literature reviews. We've talked about how you read different kinds of documents, what you pay attention to when you're reading some kind, the different documents. Now in this lecture we are going to get down to how you start collecting the research based documents or other documents and how do you store this information. So, in this lecture this will be very interesting because I will physically demonstrate to you how you get the information and how you record it and how you store it. So, let us see what we have here for you. Reviewing literature, we talked about why literature reviews are important, we talked about reviewing literature, we talked about building on the existing knowledge base. Now in this lecture we are going to talk about how you review literature. What is literature review? Literature review is a thorough, in-depth, extensive study or analysis of the available literature, of the available information, of the available knowledge that forms the basis for you to build new knowledge on. Okay. So, a literature review is an extensive study, a thorough, in-depth analysis and study of and analysis of the existing knowledge that has been created by past researchers, it could be researchers, it could be popular opinion, it could be opinion makers, it could be anyone. But when we talk about literature review, we are talking about reviewing all kinds of literature. Okay. So, the next thing we need to study is why literature review. Why do we conduct a literature review? Okay. We conduct a literature review to build on past knowledge. When we talk about building on past knowledge, we are talking about ideas that have been tried and tested. We are talking about knowing what has been tested, who has tried, what kind of idea did people come out with, how they viewed it, how they tested it, so that we don't replicate whatever has been done in the past. We also want to know what kinds of methods were used to study those ideas or to explore the ideas that people came out with. What did they do? Why did they do it? How did they do it? What was the outcome, results, and why these results are acceptable or why these results were rejected. People may have spent a lot of time proposing new ideas, studying them, trying them, testing them, exploring them, but ultimately the results that came out were not really accepted. However, the process itself was so thorough that you might want to build on the same process and maybe tweak some things here or there and do something new. So, that is very, very important. Then we come to the gap area. Now, when we come to the gap area, we also study literature to identify why people's plans did not work out. So, when we look at the limitations section in any good research paper will have a section on limitations. Now, limitations tell you why people's plans did not work out. So, you started by saying that you would do something, but you were not able to complete it, you were not able to finish it. So, why did plans not work? Then, what could not be discovered despite trying what one could? So, you tried, it doesn't come in limitations, it just helps you capture what people tried, but they could not discover despite trying their best. So, that could be covered in the conclusion. Then it also, literature review also helps you understand future direction. You use the existing knowledge as a base and it helps you give a direction to whatever you want to do in future. You could also use a collection of existing knowledge to form a clear direction. So, you could take 3 or 4 different papers and you could bunch them together and say, okay, maybe you want to study data analytics. So, you could have a paper on what data analytics is, you could have a paper on how the study of data analytics has progressed so far, what can you do about it, and you could bunch all of them together and give a clear direction to where you want to go, maybe the ethical dimensions of data analytics, etc. And then you could use these papers, or you could use past knowledge, past literature to apply the the knowledge that has been created in the past or generated in the past to something of value today. For example, the history of technology. If you understand how we progressed from Bell's telephone to the modern day cell phone and how the technology moved from from the first telephone to this wireless cell phone, maybe you could use the same knowledge and develop more things. Or maybe, you know, this has brought together customer relationship management, this has brought together marketing, this has brought together usability, this has brought together services management, services marketing, operations, everything has been brought together, and they have come out with this product called the cell phone, which does everything. So you have computer, it acts as a computer, it acts as your television, it acts as your calculator, it acts as a one-stop shop for buying so many things. So you have applications for all kinds of e-commerce websites. So it is your store, it is your emergency device. All of that has been brought into one. Now, how did that happen? Existing knowledge was used to add to something that was happening today. So people said, okay, maybe somebody studied that, you know, if you had, you could actually get all of this together because somebody built on, or somebody saw a direction to the way cell phones could be used in the future. So this is why literature review is very, very important. It's very essential to know what has been done earlier and how you can use it, and that helps you then really make a robust base, or a solid base, or sound logic to base your new knowledge development on. Okay. Some concerns regarding literature review: there could be variations among disciplines. How you conduct the literature review for various subjects, various disciplines could be different. For example, in the humanities there is lots of abstraction, in the social sciences there is lots of context involved, in the pure sciences there could be experimental studies, etc. The style, the way you write your literature review, or the way you read literature review, the way literature review is written in different disciplines is very different. So when you're reading different kinds of literature, you could, you may want to draw upon literature from various journals written in various contexts, but the style will be determined by the purpose. Sometimes the literature review highlights the process. Sometimes the literature review is very, very crisp and is very brief. In other cases it could be very long. In other cases it could lead to, or it could highlight the quantitative side of things. In other cases it could, in yet another cases it could highlight the researchers juggling between or the researchers' opinion, the opinions of various researchers, and could include discussions also. So, the researcher juggling between what the literature says and how the question has been arrived at and how methods have been discussed. So, the style is determined by the purpose. So, what you need to do is find examples of well written literature reviews. Okay. Now, this is something that I will show you how to do, and this is something where you will have to bear with me. There could be a few delays here, but I would really like to show this to you. Okay, so let's see, let's take research writing as the research area that we want to know more about. So the keywords I'm going to use are research writing, and I'll just show you how to do this. I've opened a few sites, but I'll show you the process. How do you keep records of what you read? Okay. So that is step one. If you don't keep records, you get lost, you forget, and you keep reading. And if you don't keep notes, if you're not meticulous with noting down how you're reading it and what you're getting out of what you're reading, then it becomes a real mess at the end of it. And so you must, you might find this useful. Let's see. Okay. Now, I like to start with Google. You can use any meta search engine that you like. Okay, so maybe I want to know what research writing is. Okay, so I write research writing here. I'll just increase the screen size. So you have a large number of results here. Okay. So how to write a research paper, research guide for students, writing a research paper. Now this is University of Wisconsin. So anything that ends with edu is useful for you if you're looking for material generated within India, or say by good universities and colleges in India. Then the primary website will say, you know, it will end at .ac.in. So this is one, writing a research paper. So you could open this here and see what this is about. You have online writing centers here, esc.edu. So United States has been very good with putting up these online writing labs. I've been referring to one you would have seen in the references, Purdue Online Writing Lab, OWL. So these are very, very useful. So let's see, research writing course. Okay, so there is a link to the course that we are talking about also. So see here, I mean, I'm looking for research writing, and you can actually see that a reference to this particular course has appeared here. That is really funny. I did not know that. Very, very interesting. Okay, the writing center. So writing a research paper. So this could be very valid information here. Okay, here. So you could read this. Then there is another one. Elements of a research paper: review, analysis, argument, essay, etc. One big mess, developing a research question. So, you know, so all of these, so this is one way. Then I like to move on to, you know, get a couple of pieces of information here. Then I like to move on to Google Scholar. That will give you a lot of full text articles. Now, depending on the access that your own institution has to various electronic databases, you could get information in different ways. So, or the different types of information here. So, what I'll do here is do the same thing. I'll write down research writing. Just increase the screen size. Okay. Here. So, if it is a full text document, research writing, problems and pedagogies. Now, this has come up because IIT Kharagpur subscribes to Taylor and Francis databases. I will download this here, and okay, writing the wrongs of fieldwork. So, this is research writing from, or a different aspect of research writing, a very specialized aspect, and I will tell you how to write all this also. Another source, like I told you earlier, could be your library databases. This is the website of the Central Library at IIT Kharagpur. I have taken the liberty of opening a few websites connected to this. So, one of the websites that I really, or one of the databases that I really like to use is called EBSCO. And that has a collection of various databases. So, I say choose databases and I select all here. Takes a little bit more time, but gives you a complete comprehensive overview. And here, I think I showed you this earlier also. Okay, research writing. And I like to limit my results to full text, so I get complete papers. And I think this is what we looked at last time. So, let us open this. Another database is this. Okay. Let me increase the size here a little bit. All right. social sciences research writing strategies for students. So, this does not have a PDF, but it is fine. Here, writing the research paper. This one using an inquiry approach to writing the research paper. So, we open this. Okay. Then we go to JSTOR, various databases. I will just show you. I am doing this so that I can show this to you. I can demonstrate to you how you keep these records here. I will increase the screen size. Okay. Training for, I think we have done this earlier also. You download the article. Okay. Now, the good thing about ProQuest is that it also talks about, or it has dissertations and theses. So, anyway, so you get the general idea. Then, what do we do after you have downloaded all these articles? How do you save them? Let me show you how you save these articles. This is a different issue altogether. Research writing, problems and pedagogies, full text article, PDF. I want to save a PDF version of this article. So, what I like to do is, once the article is downloaded, this is downloaded, the way I would save it is this. First thing to do is to save all these articles on your computer. Now, one way you could come up with your own way. What I like to do here is, I say download, and I will give it, the name that I will give it here will be, you will see this. This is very interesting and this will help you keep it. So, it was published in 2007, I have noted that, and okay, research writing problems and pedagogies. Let me just reduce the size of this so that I can show this to you. Okay. So, what I will do is, Citation Lee. Now, these are the names of the authors, and then I say 2007. I select the folder, then I say Citation Lee 2007, and I write down the name of the paper. Pedagogies. Okay. So, when I say pedagogies, so this way when I save it, whenever I have to retrieve the article, I can always retrieve the article just by looking at the file name. This is the name, this is how I like to name my files. So, instead of randomly downloading it and just keeping it and then forgetting about it, this helps me identify the article that I want to read later. Okay, this is one way of doing it. All right. So, now let us just look at this. Now, when we go here, again you will see how do you keep records of what you read. For example, we have read this paper. Now, this has come out of a database called Google Scholar. I went to Google Scholar and I typed in here. So, today is the 23rd of November, 23rd November 17. Keywords I used were research writing. The database was Google Scholar. Database specifications, when I say database specifications, it could be full text, or I could say full text, or I could say so and so database. Like in EBSCO, you could select one database, or it could be ProQuest, dissertations and theses. Okay. So, here These are full text articles available free of cost. That is the specification of the database. Now the citation download matter. So how do you cite it? What I like to do here is I will copy this here. You don't need to copy the DOI. This is enough. You take this and you put it here. It doesn't have to be in a PowerPoint format. So I put the entire citation here, and then what I like to do is I like to hyperlink it. Okay. So I right click here, and this says hyperlink. I want to keep it on my computer. So here whatever we did was lost. I'll have to do this again. Keywords were research, writing, database was Google Scholar, full text, hyperlink. Okay. So this is the citation here, and I want to hyperlink it to a file that I have saved on my computer. Okay. So I look for the file here, go to desktop, here. So I find the file, and this is very useful. This is the same file that I had saved earlier. I don't know if you will be able to see it on your small screens, but this is the file that I had saved earlier. So I link it to that, and that way I have it here. Then the author's take. Now this is very, very important. Okay. Now when we read it, the author's take, so you read it, and of course we don't have time to read the article, but I'll just tell you the author is trying to, this article takes up the challenge of research writing as a social situated practice and calls for it to be embraced as such within research education. The article identifies problems. I'm just going to copy and paste it here. However, this is not what you should be doing. You should read it and find out what the author is really trying to say. The article identifies problems of policy, theory and pedagogy in relation to research writing. So, here problems, policy and pedagogy in relation to research writing. Now, benefit to you. I want to know what research writing is. So, this will tell me what is research writing and what problems what is expected, of research writers, and how research writing may be taught. Okay. Now, this is the benefits to me. However, I don't want to know how research writing may be taught. Maybe I just want to, as a researcher, I just want to know what research writing is. The limitations of the study or limitations of this paper is it does not tell me, or it does not inform, it does not describe how research papers should be written. Okay, this is the limitation. These are the questions. Sorry, this is not a limitation. This is the question that still remains unanswered. Okay, the limitations will emerge here. So, this just describes how research papers can be written, can be evaluated, but the limitations will be listed somewhere in the paper. So, you can write those limitations down. Let us see if we can find them here. I am doing this as I am going along. Okay. So, it talks about research writing groups also. So, how do you teach it? Okay. Limitations will come up from the paper. Now, new keywords emerging from the document. Research writing groups. We did not, at least I did not know that research writing groups can exist. Okay. So, you save this information here and you keep it. Another thing that you want to do here is, okay, so I will just save this here. So, this is how you keep records. Then maybe we could look at another paper. Okay, building a taxonomy and nomenclature of collaborative writing to improve interdisciplinary research and practice. Now, what you have to do here is, this will contain different information, the date on which you did this. Okay. So, I am going to reduce the size of this very much, and I am going to move on to the next one, maybe make it 8. Okay. The next one, again on the 23rd of November 2017, I used the same keywords and I arrived at, and I looked at the database called EBSCO. Database specifications: select all databases and full text articles. And then I take the citation of the downloaded article. So, the citation is not available. However, what you can do is you can just copy all of this paste this here, go down, and you will have the name of the journal at the bottom. Journal of Business Communication, volume 41, number 1, January 2004, pages 66 to 99. You say copy and you paste it here. So, this way when you are going to write the reference later, you do not have to look for this information, you have already got it. Okay. So, you put that here. Then the author's take on it. So, that you will find after, but you have to read the papers. I have not read these papers, so I can't really give you all of this information. However, you get the general idea. I just want you to see how one should keep records of the research. So, this article provides a taxonomy of nomenclature for and discussion of issues related to collaborative writing, collaborative research writing. Okay. Nomenclature for collaborative research writing. And the benefit again. So, you go through the same process and you say this is how this article helps me. These are the limitations of the study. I am not sure if this article has a section on limitations, maybe it does. Let us see here. Summary of writing strategies, it tells you about writing strategies. Maybe it has a section on limitations, we can find that. It again, limitation of these and many other definitions of collaborative writing is that they do not generalize well to interdisciplinary nature. So, again you will find in some papers you will find limitations very clearly listed here. Questions that still remain unanswered: how does or what are the concerns related to independent, again research writing viz v collaborative research writing, or how does one deal with individual contributions in collaborative. So, the question has to be related to the paper that you are reading. So, how does one deal with individual contributions in collaborative research writing? Maybe that is a question that remains unanswered. Again, I have not read the paper, so I can't really tell you. New keywords could emerge, collaborative writing practices, for example. Okay. And if this is something you wanted to follow up on later, so you could take this. So, this is how you maintain records. Again, you do this and then you save the paper like I told you earlier, you download it, let me show this to you. This is 2004. So, you say Lowry, Curtis, Lowry, maintain the order of the authors, 2004. Now, sometimes your computer will not let you use such a long name. So, you say building a taxonomy of collaborative writing. Okay. So, you just use a shorter title just to help you remind yourself, okay, because many times when you are writing references, you will, whenever you write references, you use the last name of the author and the year. So, you save it here on the desktop, and then when you are maintaining your records, you hyperlink this. You just select all this, right click, a link will come here to hyperlink this, and so you go to the desktop and you find the paper here, Lowry, Curtis, Lowry, you say OK, you save all this in your computer, on your computer in a specific file, and anytime you want to retrieve this article, you just have to click on it from your computer, of course. You keep this table ready and you keep adding to it every single day, and you will realize that maybe if you read maybe 2 to 3 papers a day, at the end of a month you will have a large collection of articles that you have read, understood, churned out, and then when you have to actually write the literature review, these sections, authors take, benefit to you, limitations of the study, questions that remain unanswered. These 4 columns, the information in these 4 columns will help you present your literature review in a very, very nice and crisp and thorough manner. This is a strategy that I have never shared with in public. This is a strategy that my research scholars use, and they have found it to be very, very useful. This is how I learned to do research. You could come up with a similar method yourself, but I just thought I would share with you what I found to be very, very useful and see if you could use it. So, this is where we will end today's class. It's very, very important that you maintain records of what you read, because especially when you're doing your PhD, it becomes, you get lost in so many things that you're doing. And unless you maintain records, it's very difficult to retrieve what you may have read say 6 months ago or maybe 2 months ago also. And so much is happening, you're learning so much on a daily basis, you're expected to learn so much on a daily basis, that unless you keep records, you're likely to get lost and confused and really flustered when you actually have to produce a publishable document. So, I hope you found this lecture useful. We will continue with more discussion on literature reviews and then move on to methodology in the upcoming lectures. Thank you very much for listening.